All in favor?
Aye.
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 Right, passes. Old business. All right, collection fee schedule for non-household waste items. Catherine, gonna bring forward what you have.
Okay, so we made up a list of certain items with specific instructions on how to get them picked up from your property. That normally the bulk items that should be picked up, that's really costing a lot of money now. So we did come up with some prices on those items. Just for an example, like a sectional couch, you would put it out, would be $35. Sectional couch with pull-out bed is 40. Standard couch would be 25. And it goes from love seat, love seat is 20. You want me to read all of them? Okay. Okay, the love seat is 20, a recliner is 15, a crib minus the mattress is $10. You can bring a mattress to DPW free of charge. Wooden beds, less the rails, can be disposed of scrap container for DPW. But the wooden beds would be 15. Kitchen tables, wooden or metal is 10. Kitchen tables, granite is 15. Kitchen tables, if metal, you can dispose and scrap at the bin at DPW, but the chairs are $3 each. Bathroom vanities with porcelain sink is $10. Porcelain sinks alone is $5. Porcelain toilets is 10. Lawn and patio chairs, metal, you can dispose of at the DPW in the scrap bin. Lawn patio chairs, metal frame with fabric. If you remove the fabric, you can dispose the metal frame in the scrap bin at DPW. Patio tables with glass is $5. And patio tables metal, again, you can dispose in the scrap bin at DPW. And what they'll be doing is they'll have a red ticket or a blue ticket. The red ticket have a left out. Have the green ticket that says you went to town hall, you paid the fee, and Rambone will pick that up as soon as they see that green ticket. The red ticket, like I said, Rambone will leave it, just telling you you have to go to town hall and pay the fee, and then you'll get the green ticket, and they will pick it up.
So obviously, this has been preliminary for a while. As you know, our tipping fees are astronomical. We need a way to control it. Obviously, one of the things that we're going to be discussing tonight too is opening up the DPW for 3 more Saturdays, which we're going to discuss that on a separate agenda item. But this is just, preliminary. Obviously, this is going to go out to public hearing after it's been published. So, but we're trying to bring this forward, and if there's any input from the residents, also bring that forward. And this is like I said, this is something to literally curb some of the cost of the tipping fees. We have to find a way because it's astronomical. We're under contract with Rambone right now too. So yes.
They have some questions just to understand the problem. So Bob Horton, East Killenly Road. I know it's been mentioned over the course of at least a few years that I've been coming to council meetings about this ongoing problem. So I looked into records for the past 2 years for the trash collection, just to get a better understanding for myself. And by sharing my thoughts and asking questions, I thought the community at large might be a little more informed. So I know costs have recently gone up. Contract. It's a contractual price. There was one bidder, and that's the cost. That has nothing to do with excess trash, correct?
Correct.
All right, so that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
However, we are going over our yearly caps. And the yearly cap is set by the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation. And for the town of Foster, that's 1,298 tons per year. And going back to June of 23 and coming forward, I see exceeding that cap. So back in June of 2023, overage was 508 tons and they charged $63 a ton. Is that correct? $63 a ton?
I'm not sure about the.
Well, that's
how it
what I
went
was
back then.
reading.
Yeah,
So it was in the records.
it was in the public record,
so
yeah.
Put out by the corporation. So if it's $63 a ton, that's $32,000. 24, we're not even more, it was. So we were over $40,000. In addition to the regular cost of trash removal. And this year, we don't have the June figures yet, but we're already over by 505 tons. And that's likely to increase by another 150 tons for June, if I'm looking at past records and averaging it. So this number keeps going up more and more. Our recycling rate was only just 20.6%. If the recycling can be increased up to 25%, then Resource Recovery Corporation would charge us $1 less per ton. It doesn't save a lot of money, but if we had got our recycling up to 25%, we would have saved $500 this year. I know it's not a lot of money, but it's money. Looking on the stuff that's been collected, there are some columns I didn't understand. There was sometimes the stuff that's being rejected. I'm assuming that was items put out for recycling, but ended up going in the landfill.
Yeah.
But there was one column, it said boat RV. And in December of 2024, it was listed as 3 tons. And in October of 2022, there was 1 ton. Now I've seen couches and stuff going into those trash trucks, but I don't know about a boat or an RV.
Yeah, I'm not,
You may want to look into that.
Yeah.
I know it's not a lot of money. I don't know if the town's got rid of an RV or a boat.
Yeah, I think it was
They took it off
dumped.
the road. It was just
oh, it's a dump.
abandoned.
Yeah.
It's a dump.
All right, I
Okay.
was just curious about that. So it's
That
Yeah.
actually
really
makes
odd.
sense. Yeah, that's a,
So I'd like to just say that I'd like to encourage people to recycle more, repurpose things whenever you can, and then conserve when you buy. Consider what is the life of that product? How am I going to use it? We're in such a
Yeah.
throwaway society that we
Yeah.
buy stuff and a month later we're throwing it away. So just the overage costs every year averaging like $40,000. That's a lot of money. And then we get into debates about $2,000 worth of wood chips or, little amounts here and there. This is money that can be saved if people just think a little more wisely about things. Some other considerations. I know some towns have set limits on how much trash will be picked up. Not every town does it. I'm just trying to find it in my notes. Some communities have limits. So like Lincoln has like 12 bags or containers per household. They don't specify how big the containers are. Johnston uses a 24-gallon container and they limit it to 10 containers per week.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's something we want to consider. I hope we're not picking up renovation or construction debris. My wife and I were empty nesters. We're lucky if we put out 2 little kitchen bags a week. But sometimes you go by and you see like Mount Everest of trash left on the road. It might make sense that for you guys to kind of come up with a sensible limit, reasonable limit. I
Mhm.
mean, those big wheeled containers for trash that have the lid on them,
Yeah.
those are 95 gallons. Maybe you want to set a limit of 2 of those or 3 of those. I don't know what a reasonable limit is, and I'm not suggesting one. But if you don't put a limit, you're gonna keep having problems with some people
Mhm.
putting out Mount Everest piles of trash. And then you're gonna have to, fight about how that's gonna be dealt with.
Yeah.
So, that's all I have to say.
yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think this is a work in progress. This is where we're starting. And, I know there was talk in the past about a container system where we purchase containers for the residents the first time. At the time, it was very expensive for the town to purchase those containers, and that's all you could fill was your container, and that's all they took. We can still revisit that in the future, because I agree with that too. But it's another cost to the town right now, you know, obviously for the initial container. But that's something we can definitely revisit. But thanks for all that information put out there in public. Yes,
My name is Anna.
can you come here, please? Thank you.
What does this call it? Anyhow, I would like to, my name is Anna Rau. I have trash. However, I would like to, when we had garbage pickup organization received the permit. Are they hired already for the whole year or for the next 10 years?
It's
The
a
contract.
3-year contract.
They already got the
Yeah.
10-year contract, so
Yeah.
we cannot renegotiate it and get another.
They were the only bidders. It's the only
No one else bid.
company that bid on the
Okay,
contract.
Contract,
Yeah.
okay, so that's it, so the things will go up, right? Thank you, that's all I want to
Yep.
know when the last bid went out, because we should check out on that, right?
Thank you. Ms. Ryder?
Lynn Ryder, Burgess Road. At one point, and I'm sure it's still going on, we do have so many little home-based businesses.
Mhm.
And there was a problem where the home-based businesses were putting out business, refuse. And also that even some of the bigger concerns were putting out stuff for the regular trash. And I know that, in the contract, it says if it's business-based, you can't put it out
Correct.
whatsoever. I'm wondering, I know, and I can't remember where this ended up. But I think that we had in all those ordinances ad nauseum, I think they decided that every business, say on Route 6, I don't know how big, is supposed to have a dumpster.
Yes.
I don't know if that ever happened.
So we are addressing as we see them. They're being addressed as we see them. We find them, we have to. Oh. Out here.
Another thing. Downloaded that off our website,
Mhm.
and it says we can drop off appliances at the yard. Now, what kind of appliances are we talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure if,
In.
yeah, I know it had
in
in
some
there,
of the
but it
ver-
had, it might be just because they're like, if it's just appliances, they may be open to everything. Refrigerators,
But I've never
dryers,
seen-
washers. I haven't either. That's why yeah. Oh, the Freon in it. Right. So stove, washer, dryer.
I've seen, like
I
microwaves and with the electronics.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
no,
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know that when I went on the town website and I just clicked on DPW.
That's right.
Oops.
Yeah.
When I went on the town website and I just clicked on DPW, just a little heading about trash can, and all they mentioned was waste oil, mattresses and electronics.
Yep.
But then I had to find out more by
Yeah,
going, by
I'm gonna-
downloading that.
I can, there's another page that I can read that pretty much breaks things out. If
Does
you
it have
want-
appliances in there?
Yeah,
Oh, it does. So,
It's
So-
just, people don't know, and
Right.
does this still apply?
yeah, that's something we definitely have to do is advertise more. So people know, because like you said, there are a lot of residents that don't know, and that's why our tipping charges are so high, our fees, because people are so used to just putting out whatever they have. Even when they remodel a kitchen and they say, oh, I got some wood I want to throw out, you're not supposed to be putting it out there, but no one really knows.
Right.
So
I
it's
do-
on us to advertise.
I do know there's other ways of getting rid of stuff like, appliances like that. I know when I got rid of my freezer and my fridge,
that's
I
what
got
that-
rebates from my utility, like
Well, that was
National Grid
something
and stuff.
else.
So, but that's, you have to deal with them individually. That has nothing to do with the towns, but that's something you have to search out yourself. I know they offer stuff like that.
Yes.
That's one of the
Yeah.
things I saw with, the Rhode Island Resource Recovery is that they encourage communities to have, some kind of a diversion plan.
Mhm.
Where I guess you go out and find other ways of getting rid of some of this stuff rather than it ended up as a landfill. I don't know.
I think one of the things also was to inquire about an Eco Depot.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, which, yeah. Yeah, but so I just confirmed too here, appliances without Freon can be dropped off free of charge. One of the things on this, payment schedule is appliances with Freon. It's $15 for dehumidifiers, $15 for air conditioners, and $25 for refrigerators. So that would be, well, yeah, we have, we have to
Right.
publish it for the ordinance, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Dave Rathman, Hartford Pike. I'd like to comment about the fees that you're planning to charge and how you intend to enforce these fees. And along with that, my other question is going to be, you're open 7 to 3 or 7 to 2 at DPW yard, and you're obligating people to bring their stuff there and pay to get rid of it, but you're not open when people can go. I work 6 to 4 every day of the week. And I know we're gonna discuss Saturdays,
Yeah.
but having 3 Saturdays once a quarter, that's really just not enough time
Yeah.
for people to do this. I'm gonna be on vacation that month. What do I do? Leave it in my yard for 4 months until they're open again? But my question with the fees, what's to stop me from going in and saying, Sue, I got a little chair like that, give me the $5 ticket and slap it on the $50 couch. Rambone's gonna drive by and look, got a green ticket, throw it away. How are you gonna enforce it?
Yeah,
My question.
yeah, that's another thing. It's gonna have to be based on some type of system, either a numbering system. That's why we're bringing it forward.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a numbering system. It may be a different color. This is,
Yep.
like I said, this is
Yeah.
still preliminary because we've already talked about this at the past council.
Oh, tons of times.
But I want to move this forward
Yeah.
because we need to do it. So it may be something, that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
It may be something where we do a different color code.
I think
based
you
on what
have
they-
to, based
yeah.
on the dollar value. of
Right.
it. But again, it's, that now you're throwing something out there on the end of the road thinking it's gonna get taken away.
Right,
Oh,
and
there's
that's
a red
right, yeah.
sticker. I gotta go back to, and
Yep.
that's the other question. Can I do this online? I don't have time to go see Sue.
Well, that's
What-
something I
six
was
to
looking
four,
into also.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we
There's all
do,
these
yeah.
Things that are gonna cast.
we do e-permitting, right?
that?
We already do e-permitting. So why,
Yep.
why couldn't it possibly be able to? Then we got to work on color type things because
Yep.
people have to print them at home. You can't, well, hey, you have to have a color printer to do it or else you can't do it. But we'll have to figure something out at that point, but like I said, this is
Gotta be a way
preliminary.
to
It may
work
be
with
a number system,
Yeah.
you get a
Yeah.
unique number. And then we give Rambone head, it's these numbers.
Yeah.
And then they go out.
Are
and do
you
it.
in communication with them enough?
Yes,
Every week
yes.
with Rambone?
Yeah, and we've already discussed it, the two counselors that were
Yeah.
discussing it.
Good.
With them, they've already brought it up to them. They were willing to tag items that are too large to take,
Yeah.
that are prohibited based, without a fee.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do that. So that's actually a good thing because companies don't want to put any
Yeah,
actual
they
work on
Of
there.
course not.
Yeah, but they already agreed to do that.
But
for
my,
us, so.
my vote is for those canisters, the
Yeah,
96
I like
gallon
that too.
ones.
Yeah.
You see
that'll help with
every
the-
town has it. I understand the cost up front for the town to buy them, but I think if you look overall, big picture over the course of 3 years, you amortize out the cost that you pay for them.
Yep. And we're looking at that too.
I think that's a net savings in the long run.
Yep.
Myself, but.
Yeah,
that's-
but again, even those, it has to be normal household waste. It's supposed to be, and that's
It's
something.
supposed to be,
it's
of
supposed to
course
be.
it is,
Right.
but nobody goes and looks in them in Cranston, they just dump them. So
Right.
it's, you gotta kind of have a little trust in your people.
No, yeah, absolutely,
They're gonna-
absolutely.
They're
Yep,
gonna follow the rules. and,
Yep.
Promote the recycling, repurpose it.
thank you.
Dennis said.
Yes,
Just listening if I have, but I just.
yep, no, good.
Shelley Pezza, Cucumber Hill Road, Foster. Other towns, actually, you have to pay for the containers and they pick them up. So instead of the town fronting the money, which is us anyway, by the way, it's the homeowner pays for them. Like I have a duplex over the line in Danielson.
Mhm.
I have to pay for the container, and if that container is not out by the road, they don't pick up my garbage. My customers because I'm in East Greenwich, my customers that are down Coventry and other towns, they had to buy their containers. They buy them. And if their containers are not by the road, which are the towns, like the town garbage pickup, then the garbage company does not pick it up. So it's not paid for by the town itself, it's paid for by the homeowners.
Yeah.
Some towns are.
Yeah, and some,
yeah, yeah, those taxes are much higher too, so, yeah.
Really?
But anyway, there are other towns that do, so either way, you're paying for it one way or another.
Yeah.
Either you're paying for
Yeah.
it in your taxes or you're paying for it. I mean, personally, it's fine, or you can just bring it to a dumpster. I mean, I have customers trying to sneak in my dumpster, but that's besides the point, but that's all I was trying
Yeah.
to say. Instead of
Yeah.
it, instead of.
Yeah, there's an
the
opportunity
town
to,
absorb
yeah.
it in your budget, which isn't hard when people are cutting you $50,000 on your, like your DPW and stuff like that, I'm making cuts there. You're not worried about them cutting you or something like that, because then you
Right.
can't do it. But if they're paying for it up front, then they have the garbage can, they own it, and that's it.
right.
I have
I
a
did.
question.
I like that.
How much, say you wanted to, say the customer has to purchase like one of the trash cans, how much is one individually, do you know?
I don't know, it
Yeah,
depends.
it
We have,
all depends.
so it
yeah.
depends on, it was like 50 or 100, depends on the garbage company, even if
Yeah.
you upset it, like I believe mine was 100, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a one-time fee.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's a one-time fee, so
I
it's not like
know.
it's a reoccurring cost in my taxes
Right.
every year. It's a one-time fee, and that helps offset. And like it does, it puts a limit on what they can put in the garbage can.
Yeah.
But it's that way, it's their garbage.
Yeah,
I-
I agree with that. It's just my personal opinion, especially if it's such a drastic change, initial drastic change. I'd be a little uncomfortable asking residents to say, oh, the only way you can get your garbage picked up now
I know,
is if you
change-
buy these. And I know,
Change
and it,
easy.
yeah,
I
so you
mean,
try to find that balance, you
change,
know?
and like as far as the pickups for days, I mean, there are some towns that only have pickups for one day a week. And certain things like like certain appliances, they're only like once a quarter.
Yeah.
And that's how it is in North Kingston.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
Yep.
so
Yep.
that's not unusual either.
Right.
So I'm sorry.
thank you. No. you're good. Yes, Mr. Horn?
Just one thing that was mentioned.
Yep.
We're asked about. I don't know how much furniture is getting put out on a weekly basis. And I don't know if that's gonna be even tracked in down resource recovery charts. on
Not
a monthly
initially,
basis,
yeah.
but
This
would
lot,
it make sense to have Rambo and just pick up furniture once a month and we would have a better sense of how much furniture is contributing to this problem of overage? If,
I mean, we could ask them.
yeah, I don't know if that's
But
cost
yeah,
effective.
we'd have to change. I don't know if it'd be cost effective because you're still looking at the same amount of tonnage. Right? I mean, it's just at a different time,
It pulls it out of the regular.
but it'd be easier for us to itemize it.
Exactly.
Right, right.
So
Two different
it'd be easier
pickups.
for you to figure out if this is really the biggest contributor to this problem, or it's just people putting out
Right.
all sorts of trash.
Right, right. Yeah, we could definitely use that to itemize it, but. So like I said, this is just preliminary, so we wanted to bring it forward, get your input, which we did, which is great. And so the next step is we're gonna maybe change a couple of these things, bring it forward again, rediscuss it, with the full council at another meeting. And then we're gonna put it out, for, public hearing. We're gonna advertise it.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to have it done before September. So, that's my goal, but that doesn't always happen. So that's my goal. So, because it's a problem that's been ongoing and I don't wanna table it. So. What's the next thing? NEC Police Station build progress. Okay, so, I received, the next amendment was still, and nothing's changed, it's still $4.68 million, guaranteed maximum price, contract. But it's under review right now with the solicitor. And once it's under review, I am going to resubmit it to the council for the next meeting, July 10th. And then we're gonna vote on, and I already got approval to sign it. But there's a lot more involved in this, and I don't feel comfortable without the public knowing exactly what's in this clarification document. So we're gonna resubmit it for July 10th, and we will revote on signing that document and moving forward. So right now, as long as that gets signed, we're putting a shovel in the ground in July.
But it could be reversed.
It could be, it could be. 105. So, yes. So it's being reviewed right now by the solicitor. And once I get it back, it'll go back to NEC. Because right now it's under draft. That's why it's not out there yet. It's under draft mode. Once it goes back to NEC, then we'll resubmit it on July 10th. And as long as the councilors want me to sign it, I'll sign it and we'll move forward. All right. Is there any question?
No,
Yeah,
how much is it?
Please, I know. I'm sorry.
Right, for the police station now. That's
It's the same. It hasn't changed. 4.68 million.
4.6.
Yep, cannot go over that price. 4.68. Any other discussion on the police bill? No? Okay. NRI 4-H fairgrounds and maintenance. Well, the use of fairgrounds, we took care of last council meeting. The maintenance, there was the question about the buildings on the property. So they are town assets. So they have to be, any work on those buildings, the little barns there, they have to be done by code. So the permits have to be applied for, and it's gonna be inspected, and it has to be done by code. I know what's happened in the past. Sometimes people volunteer and they just go work on it. It's an asset of the town, so it's covered under our insurance. So it has to be done the correct way. Yes, Ms. Ryder?
I think I know the answer to this already, but that also means that it is, and I forget what they call it, but the minimum wage, you have to.
Prevailing
Prevailing
yes.
wage.
Yeah.
That's what,
Yes.
Oh, boy.
So it's prevailing wage unless it's done by a volunteer organization or another committee, kind of what we're doing with the town hall. I mean, the town building,
townhouse,
townhouse with the roof,
right?
because that's not direct town funds. So
Right.
that's a little different. But normally, yes, it would have to be prevailing wage to work on that. So I just wanted to address that and bring that forward. There's no action on that item. Okay, Conservation Commission. Additional Saturdays for non-household waste drop-offs. Okay, so like I stated, and I think a couple other councils stated, and we all voted unanimously in February to make sure we can get these Saturdays going. We ran into a little snafu with the budget meeting, so we had to readdress it. Okay, so I still stand by my words. We need this. I think it's a good thing. I think we should have it. Obviously with a little bit of delay, we missed June, but I couldn't just push it forward without really discussing, trying to figure out what we can propose to work this. So with the budget of DPW and brought it forward, and so I would like with the council's approval to move forward with these Saturdays. So I still want to do 3 Saturdays. We'll have to figure out another day to fill in for the June, whether it's July and you want to add another, that's fine. I still want to stand by the 3 Saturdays. But we're looking for support from the Conservation Commission. So what I would like with the council's approval is to request that the Conservation Commission covers the cost of the employee coming in. Now, I'm not thinking we need 2 employees, 2 DPW people. I think we can go with 1, and I have the numbers here. And again, this is not something that you have to, say yes or no. You can bring it back to your committee and then say, okay, this is, it's good or not. But for 2 DPW employees would be $378.92, and that's full labor cost per day. Okay, if we go down to 1, then obviously it's half of that. So it's $189.46. I'm okay with 1. I mean, I think that's what we're trying to do anyways, with one DPW employee. The next part would be making sure we had, because it's a extra day for them. So it's a volunteer opportunity for them. So it has to, they do their own bid process within their DPW and they get somebody. But I pretty much guarantee we will have somebody to cover for you on that Saturday. And then the total for the 3 days would be, I think it $568.38. So it's, I think the good compromise, like I said, it's something we really need to do. It's not astronomical in my opinion. But we really don't know with the DPW budget right now. I mean, we're underwater contractually right now with DPW. So we're trying to compromise and try to figure out how we can do this together as a team. And I know you guys are advocating for it. I am too. I want it. But that's my request from conservation. Yes.
Is this on?
As long as the numbers are on the
Yep.
front, yep.
If you need a DPW person, the director is salaried.
Mhm.
So there's no extra cost there if he covers
Yeah,
it.
he's not gonna
He's
be
not-
working Saturdays.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Dennis Therian, South Killingly Road. Well, there's a lot. The items they're gonna be collecting.
Mhm.
Okay, you were saying that the scrap metal, and everything else. The 3 days you want open to do this, I'm a little confused as to your pay scale and picking it up on the side of the road. I'm missing something.
Okay, so this is just about the conservation days, right? Those 3 days that were gonna somewhat
Correct.
mirror Earth Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mirror
that-
Earth Day.
Yeah, we'll mirror, and based on the February conversation we had.
I thought it was like gonna be 8 to noon time on Saturdays.
Yep,
Is that
it's
correct?
four
That's
hours, correct, yep.
But the pay thing, you were
The-
saying putting stickers on the furniture outside for pickup, for the Rainbow to pick up. I'm
Yep.
confused on the two here.
So the Saturdays that we're gonna open up, it's gonna be based on Earth Day. So Earth Day, people bring in, you just take them. You
Okay,
just take everything, right? So that's
Okay.
what, it's gonna be the same thing for those Saturdays. It's not gonna have anything to do with pay schedule.
Oh,
So
okay.
even
It is
after,
confusing because
so even after, once this gets implemented. And we still have, say, 2 more Saturdays this calendar year. They're not gonna have to pay for the Saturdays. That's not what we're doing.
Okay,
It's gonna be taken in.
okay. Now,
But remember, from February, we still have to discuss that, you were looking for Vinagro to donate the dumpster again. So that's something that you guys still have to research and.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was my next question? Oh, the scrap metal bin that he fills
Mhm.
and they pick up. Now, I don't know how much, I know what they get a pound for scrap metal, but does it pay for itself? Does the money from the scrap bins come back to the town? Like say they, you know what I'm saying? That, say it costs $400 to pick up.
Yep.
All that stuff. But they get about $600, we'll say in scrap, so like $200 would come back to the town. I'm just
Yep.
throwing out some numbers there.
Yeah, I can definitely research that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, to see if he gets any money from that could come back to the town. Also, it could pay the employee that we have on Saturdays. If, one thing it'd be nice is if you specify like for the scrap metal, like you did that just a little while ago about Freon items
Mhm.
In the scrap bin, especially on Saturdays, they wouldn't have to leave them on the side of the road if they can come on Saturday to get rid of it. It's a bonus for the town.
Yep.
The other thing, the drain oil. He gets the benefit of that. So I've got
Yeah.
drain oil. I always drop my drain oil over there
Yep.
too. So all of that, he gets free heat.
The
I'm
town
not
does.
counting
Yeah, yeah.
pennies.
The
I'm not
town
counting
does.
Yeah.
pennies.
Yeah.
But the other items like the electronics and the other things that you're
Yep.
gonna pick up, it'd be interesting to know if the town gets any money from these. It's just, what my point is, it's
Yeah.
gonna help with paying the employee or bringing money into the town by doing this.
Yeah, I can do
That's
some
my
research
point.
on that and I can bring it forward.
Yeah.
Next time. But we went through with a fine tooth comb, trying to figure out where we could find $1. And it's that tight right now.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
that tight
just
right now.
if you can list them when you advertise, if you can make a nice list of each item that people can bring in. Especially the.
Yeah,
scrap
well, I mean,
metals that they can
are you
bring
talking
in.
for Saturdays? Or are you talking about for?
The Saturdays.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we already discussed that in February. I think what you were trying to do is make sure we mirror somewhat
Right.
Earth Day.
But as you go,
except for, like-
on here, that this gets advertised so the people,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
people
yeah.
know what they can bring in.
Yep.
And again, the thing I wanted to add too is this is only for 1 year. We're not talking 10 years. Let's see how this goes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For the 1 year.
Yep.
You know, let's look ahead
Yeah, absolutely. And next
to
year,
next year.
I
Let's
would
see how
like
this
to-
all Works out.
yeah,
this
I
year.
would like to not have an issue with covering the cost of the employee coming in.
Yeah, okay,
So,
thank you.
yes.
We do get money, just saying.
Lynn Ryder Burgess Road. On those Saturdays, if I remember correctly, you would only be able to bring what they normally take in the yard.
Correct.
Okay, so you couldn't bring furniture.
Right, yeah, I don't think that was part of the February agreement, right? Because we.
Right, no, it was
Yeah.
only, it was
Yeah.
waste oil and whatever else was on
And the
that
other stuff,
list.
correct.
But that's it.
Right,
So,
but
I
it was
mean,
giving people an opportunity because of the hours that Mr. Rathbone was
Oh,
talking about. Now we get Saturdays,
absolutely.
now, yeah, that's what we're
But
trying to do.
I think that's going to be a bit of confusion that people would just think, well, I could take anything.
No, well, that's why we definitely have to advertise. I mean, I think that's one of the things we're lacking here too, is the advertising of everything. So once we get that out there, you know, which is gonna be a cost also, but we could do that. So, yeah, Mr. Rothman?
Dave Rathman, Hartford Pike. So you want to take a third to half of our budget to pay for this. We get $1,450 a year allocated to us. We use that money to promote waste, solid waste. We cycle, repurpose. We put a lot of effort into Earth Day. I'll take this in front of our committee, but I don't think we got a shot of anyone agreeing to take our
Really?
budget.
Do you,
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have, I just told you, we got.
Okay, I have one question.
$1,450.
do you have any grant money?
Do we have any grant money?
Yeah. Do you have any grant money that you have put aside?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You think we should spend that
Well, no, I'm just saying, when you're saying you only have 1,400, I just.
from the
curious.
town, allocated from the town, we get $1,450.
All right.
And you want
we
to
got
take
some
a
grant.
third to more than half of it, maybe 3/4 of it.
No, that was just my question.
If you want 2 people there, you're telling me it's $380. Times 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to go to
That's-
one,
that's
obviously.
a-
That's why I
well,
knew,
Can you
well,
though? Contractually,
yes,
can you?
yes.
You can have one
Yes.
person in
I
the
checked that
yard,
first.
liability wise,
Yep.
and you can have volunteers in the yard at the same time?
Yes,
Really?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised about that in the
Yeah.
union situation.
I checked
like
it.
that.
Yeah, it's.
I'll take it, I'll put it in front of the committee, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying, well, that's why this is the only thing I could find that would compromise and help, you know, bring this
Yeah.
forward to the town residents. And like I said, I went through the budget with a fine tooth comb and
You don't have
It's-
$500.
not right now, not right now.
We've had a number of people from the community reach out to the Conservation Commission wanting this to happen for a more convenient time for these Saturdays, so they can bring in their trash. But I think it should be more than just regular household trash. People sometimes have mattresses they want to get rid of. Now, that's not something that has a fee attached to it to get rid of it. It's currently free if you get it here.
So the DPW garage is gonna be open for those
It
Saturdays.
will be open for those Saturdays.
Yes,
I want to make
so
sure
that
of
means that they can bring a mattress and put it into that.
All right, so that
yeah,
would be beneficial.
Yeah.
That's what we want to be able to tell
Yep,
people.
absolutely.
And instead of, volunteers pulling mattresses out. of
Cause I don't
the
think, you don't actually take mattresses on Earth Day, correct?
We do not.
Right, so
It's
that,
not
but
open.
because we're gonna have,
Because the gate is not open.
Yeah,
right, so this, it's gonna be open. That's why I wanted, yeah, and I agree, that's why I agree with the DPW person being there. Because then the gate's gonna
Yeah.
be open, now you can utilize.
and on
those.
Earth Day, it should be open too, just to.
That's a,
drop it off.
yes,
But, take into consideration.
that's something we can consider next year for Earth Day. Yep, absolutely. Do you have a time frame that you may be able to get back to us? You want to just say next,
I'll have to.
oh, just, okay, all right,
Didn't have a July meeting, if we're ready. It's too late to get agenda on.
okay.
Or anything like that, so it wouldn't be till the August, at the earliest.
Okay, and if me or Ms. Dillon, you can send her, and, yep, yep. Thank you. All right, new business, allotment of funds for other public safety. I am going to entertain a motion to continue that item till the other two counselors are here on July 10th.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the allotment of funds for other public safety to be, you want it moved to the next meeting or take
Continued.
continued?
Second.
Continue to July 10th.
Continued to July 10th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes. Liaison to the police department, that item has been removed. So there's no discussion on that. All right, third item, Foster School Committee report.
Wants to be. All three of us.
Hi, Ms. Cook, how are you? I haven't seen you in forever.
Thank you for having us this evening. It was just, we're trying to more see if there's questions that you guys have for us. We're trying to be as transparent as possible. I did bring you up a 5-year plan. Just kind of give you an idea of what we're doing. We do fund our own capital projects. But just kind of give you an idea of what we have going on. Perfect.
Always that it's important as members of this committee is to be really transparent and to work with you guys.
You do me a favor, I just need you talking to them. I know it's, sorry. It's-
Yeah. So we think it's really important as part of what we do to work with you all. We completely understand that we're a large part of your budget. And you need to understand what we do and have, we need to be clear and open with you as to why we're doing what we're doing. And likewise, we need to communicate that to you all. We've tried to meet with the town councils as often as we can. Usually we try and do it yearly, but it really ends up being every couple of years in all likelihood. And knowing that there's a lot of new folks this year, we thought it was important just to sort of make sure it was clear that those lines of communication were open, to field any questions you might have, and just to be clear with you what we're anticipating seeing over the next few years as we forecast our budget out, so that you have a feel for what's coming downstream from a school standpoint, and you can kind of plan accordingly. That's really the sense of it. We want to just make it clear that we'd like to be part of the team. We are part of the team, and we take our role here in the town quite seriously. In doing that, I don't know.
I'll just add a couple things. We did have a couple unexpected expenditures this year. We did lose $18,500 in state aid, which, I mean, we plan accordingly. Just wanted to let you know where we're at. We did also not anticipate having $170,000 for out of district tuitions between the transportation. Fortunately, there comes a time where we can't meet the needs of the students, and it's the best interest of the students and the teachers to put them in a safer place. They can have their education, but it's not students. It's just not a safe environment. So that was an unanticipated expenditure, but we did make appropriate cuts. So that would happen, but just so you know where we stood. Eileen, was there anything?
I think the new director for facilities has done a good job really going through and pointing out what things really need to be addressed.
Okay.
You guys have any questions for us, more importantly?
No, just look, so what am I looking at here? So,
Yeah, so
Okay.
I can go through that. We, as the school committee, are responsible for the school, both what goes on within the school as well as the building itself. That is a town building. One of the things you'll see in a lot of communities is school committees carry a fund balance. So at the end of the year, any leftover money that we have in our budget gets transferred into our fund balance. And Foster, what we try to do is we tried very hard to work with the town council to fund our capital projects using that fund balance. Because it is a town building, and I feel like it's an appropriate use of those funds as a one-time expense to invest back into these buildings. And it's always really worked very well. If you look at some of the neighboring communities, that hasn't worked out so well. My background is I do buildings. I do a lot of school buildings. I can tell you that a new elementary school building now is breathtaking what they cost. If you think the police station is expensive, the elementary schools that they're building run anywhere from $20 million to $30 million. What we think is important as a committee, and we do speak about this quite regularly, is to keep investing in this building that we have. We think it's an important asset to the community to keep it, vibrant, to keep it viable for as long as we can. And that's our goal. So our capital programs are basically geared towards investing anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 a year into that building to make sure that it lasts. We try and forecast large expenses that might be coming and, we plan for them. You're gonna see this year's a little off because of the well replacement project, and we can get into that if you'd like. The plan that you have in front of you is the 5-year capital projects plan. So in order for us to be eligible for reimbursement from the state, we're required to submit a capital plan roughly every 5 years. They review that plan at the state level, and it includes some drawings, what the backup is, improve it. If we have projects that are on this 5-year plan, we're eligible to be reimbursed by the state for a portion of those funds. Foster, I believe we're right around 38%. So if you see a project that's like $500,000, we should be getting roughly 200,000-ish back from the state. The regional number, when you see some of the regional figures, will be higher because there are bonuses for regional districts that we're not eligible for because, Foster, then there's Foster Gloucester, and Gloucester. So the local is separate from that. This is our 5-year plan. One of the strategies, we try to be a little bit broad in how we capture these items so that if we do have things that come up through those 5 years, we can bundle them into these 5-year projects. So for example, if like we have a rooftop unit, which don't say we want to put in a rooftop unit, or we have, we decided the roof leaks. We have a plan in place already, an approved project to replace a portion of the roof. We can add to it or subtract it or adjust it without having to go back before the state. We're required to spend half of what's listed here. So if you see, we have, I think it's $2.4 million in projects budgeted over those 5 years.
Yeah.
We're required by law to spend half of that. So not all of these projects will get done. So you'll see it's been bundled into red, green, yellow.
Right.
Our facilities manager likes
Well,
to
one-
color code everything. Some of them will absolutely get done. They have to get done. Other ones are as we can, and they might get pushed a little bit. Some of them have been here for a bit and they might end up on the next 5-year plan, or only parts will get done. But it's generally, we have to have something in place and we'll adjust it as we go. The priority projects for this year are the boiler replacement, basically heat, hot water within that building. It's been desperately needed for a long time. That is getting done now, as well as some overhaul of the building itself to accommodate that. We're switching from oil to propane as part of that process. It was recommended to us by our facilities manager, by the architect for this particular building, because it was a more viable source of fuel moving forward. And it would be easier to basically maintain 20 years from now. There's not a lot of large scale oil burners being put in anymore. The other one that's been on here for a little bit, that's a priority for us, is the well. That is a project that's underway. That's been dragging for a little bit. So
Yeah.
we got sort of caught. Luckily we were at the leading edge of, luckily, I don't know how you want to phrase it, but the PFAS became an issue right as we applied for this project. A lot of assistance. I apologize, I don't have the exact amount of reimbursement that we're getting for that, but they're offsetting a lot of the costs of this. Because of that, though, because it was so new at the time our project went in, it's dragged it out a little bit longer. So we essentially have a well, and the well has water coming out of it, but now we have to figure out what our treatment system is to address the actual water that's coming out. So it's kind of prolonged the project, but that is also underway. So those are the two big projects that we're undertaking for the town. Sorry, I took my.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's important, like, so that 5-year plan, this is 25 to 2030. We do have an option as a committee to have multiple plans in place at the same time. It gets a little muddy if we do that. And there's a whole other lot of wrinkles, like we have emergency projects. So if something does go bad, there is a mechanism in place for us to go with. It's easiest for us, just long-term planning standpoint, to stick to our 5-year plan. I think it's important to understand the fund balance piece. So, Shelley and Eileen were speaking about, we had some unexpected costs come up this year. We typically budget, I think, for like one student, I think, to be transported out into town. This year we have 3, and that's our role as a community, is to support these students. If we were to budget for that every year, we would have an overage of like $200,000, which would kind of mess up your school budget. So we try and be reasonable and realistic with what we see historically. And we were, but this is a year, it's
Yeah.
an off year, so.
Yeah.
Our fund balance will be lower, but we do have, a savings in it that we can kind of eat into and still be fiscally responsible on our end.
Mhm.
Should that be a recurring thing for like 3 or 4 years in a row, then we have to revisit how we're funding capital projects, but right now it's something that we can handle. So,
Was it fully granted for the well, though?
I think a large part of it was, but I apologize, the project been going on for like so long.
That
Um,
increased?
Yeah, it's, and there's different parts of it. So there's the well and the treatment part of it.
Uh-huh.
So we can get back to you with the exact amount that we are being reimbursed for. But I believe it was like it's like a loan, it's a forgiven loan. So I believe the Department of Health, we basically take out a loan to them and they forgive the loan. We did the same thing in the region.
Mm.
Really say we've been buying bottled water for the kids all year because you couldn't use the well. That was not by a grant. We've been paying for that.
Yeah.
And I would also say, I'd like to add, so the money, we are not taking the funds from the funds that we're unanticipated costs from the out of district students out of a fund balance, because that would create a structural deficit. We're using cuts because we had a lower enrollment for kindergarten, and we're keeping 2 kindergartens this year instead of 3, and we're keeping 2 first grades instead of 1. And if we end up getting kids that cost us to be over, we'll just pay the overage on the classroom, but instead of paying for another whole teacher, which ends up
Mhm.
costing about $100,000.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
all. So we're not using money from our fund balance because we're not going to cause a structural deficit.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
good,
you
good.
go.
I'm sorry.
You do really
No,
good.
no. Do you want to talk?
And that actually was one of my questions, if there's any drastic change that you foresee in pupil numbers.
So I can go into that. So you read my mind. So basically,
Yeah, that's what you said.
one thing to keep in mind is historically that school, I believe, has a capacity, it's like 400 students or so, give or
Yeah.
take. Right now, for this year, we have 246. That includes pre-K, which we wouldn't have historically. had.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that includes the AOC kids in that number.
I don't know if I don't think so.
Yeah. So one thing that we do see for the next few years, and so the AOC, sorry. Essentially what a prior superintendent did was they identified that we had almost like 3 or 4 classrooms in the building. And they brought in the auditory oral program, which was managed. It's basically a program that helps educate students with, different hearing impairments.
Cochlear implants.
Okay.
They're bussed in and they're educated in classrooms within the building that we were previously renting out to them, but now they are part of the district.
Mhm.
And then they also engage with our students. So it's basically allowed us to bring revenue into the school, as well as to allow our students to engage with some kids who might be a little bit different from them, as well as servicing some of the local students. So we do have those students in the building. I think it's only a handful at this point, but it's a source of revenue that we brought in with some space that was vacant in the building otherwise.
Okay.
Moving forward, though, we do still expect, the COVID boom hasn't necessarily come yet. So we have the 246 this year. We're projecting, to be basically up to about 300 students again in 28, 29. And those numbers are all in the budget too. So you should have them in the school budget.
Yeah.
It's towards the end, so everyone kind of falls asleep by the time they get to that
Okay.
part. The reason I mentioned that is that we do forecast having a very tight budget for the next few years. Basically, our revenue, as far as the reimbursement we get from the state, really won't start to swing up for another couple of years.
Mhm.
So we do forecast being at roughly 4% for the next few years. And that's with a tight budget. So you'll see that number is also included in the school budget that you see,
Mhm.
that we include, it's a little bit of a negative that we haven't resolved yet as we're forecasting out. But that is just to be fully transparent with you all, that
Mhm.
with the enrollment that we currently have and the costs that are pretty much fixed, we have salaries, we have overhead, and there's really not a lot of extra staff in that building anymore in order to just educate the kids with what we need to do. That is something just to plan towards moving forward. I think we were at what, 2.5 this year.
Yes.
That's sort of an outlier year just to stay ahead of it. And you can see in neighboring communities, they kind of fell behind in that a little bit. Like we really don't want to be there as a town. It's
Right.
because then it catches up to you,
Yes, it
basically.
does.
I mean, you can
Yes, it does.
be a 0% hero for 1 year, but like 2 years from now, like
That's not, it's gonna catch up.
it comes home.
Mhm.
So just to be fully transparent, and let's take a look at the budget, and we're happy to discuss any items in there with you, but
Mhm.
a lot of the costs, like I said, it's pretty fixed.
Yep.
They're very good. Thank you.
So do you guys have any questions for us?
Questions?
No, no.
Okay,
Makes
thank you
sense.
so much for having us. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for coming. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I make a motion to adjourn the Boston meeting.
Second.
Time is it?
Excuse me. I would like to, you have to pick up for the 6 students. I don't. know.
That's right, yes.
And if you come to the mic, I'm sorry,
Oh,
you
yeah,
gotta,
I
yeah,
know.
please. Yeah,
So
thank you.
there's 6 students there, and you are going to get at the most 300.
So full disclosure, the way that we forecast those numbers is basically live birth data. It's not a wildly scientific process. I mean, that's not necessarily how it works, but I guess it's proven statistically reliable over time. So according to the live birth data, whatever that is, like 6 years ago, so I guess that last year, there must have been a lot of babies. So they're forecasting 314 and 28, 29. When whoever comes up here next year has that same presentation, that number could be very different because it's just estimates and. But it's hopefully right. We got to base on something, right? Like the
Yes.
Yeah.
babies are coming from somewhere. Well.
This school is in the bottom of the hill, right? You know the school building?
Yes,
And all the garbage like goes down there, and you were working on the well. How safe is the well?
so the well is in the far back. The new well is far back. It's basically offset to code. I mean,
Can
they
we have
test.
to check first before we?
Absolutely.
Into it?
So what we're doing right now is the well has been drilled. They test the
Okay,
water.
take the well.
Yep, there's like when you draw the circles, so the way that the public wells work is a little different than just a residential well too. There's a lot larger offsets. And you have to be set back from wetlands. So the one thing with the,
Goes down there from the road, right?
this is pretty far back. So if you, what I can tell you is you draw the circles as where the leach field is for the septic system. The leach field is for the neighbor's septic system. Then there's a river back there and you're 50 feet off of it. You're left with a very small area.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, and that's not, but that's not done by the school committee.
Yeah.
That's something that it's done by the permit and,
So, yeah,
right, we're about,
Wait a minute. I think it's important to know that the water for a school has to be tested quarterly.
yeah.
So they
Yeah.
test it quarterly. So it's not like your home well. Water for a school
Yeah.
public facility is tested quarterly.
Okay, let me tell you something. My daughter went to kindergarten here in their school. And they couldn't go there. They were moved up to the poison place up there, you know. where
I
it
do,
is.
the missile place.
Yeah, it's a place, and I want to make sure that the garbage doesn't go in their school building, so they don't have to be fit for the kids to go in there.
yeah, it will be.
1000%.
Yeah.
What if it brings you any comfort, the well is in the boiler room, so it's in the middle of the
Yeah.
building, so if you were to see it, I mean,
The water goes down and it sits in the dirt, so.
it's like 50 feet from the road in the middle of the. I hear you, like, and we'll test and treat and we'll
Yeah.
do what we can do.
That's the problem.
I'll just-
5 feet on top of the mountain, and the kids are on the bottom, and all the garbage is there, plus there was a, you know.
And that's why we test quarterly.
Yeah,
Right.
They'll test it quarterly. You know, they have to.
But that is. Future of the children of this town.
Yep.
And they should have.
They are number one.
Water.
Absolutely.
I'm very worried about this, you know.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?